All right. Did you know it only takes 3 minutes to captivate your audience and make them say yes? So, most speakers struggle to keep their audience engaged. But what if there was a proven formula to win them over in just minutes? Imagine turning every presentation into a powerful tool for persuasion, connection, and success. So, whether you're pitching a client, leading a team, or delivering a keynote, this episode will give you the strategies you need to own the stage and the room. All right, so don't forget to like and subscribe our channel um, in YouTube. And where is it? There you go. So don't forget to like and subscribe our channel and drop your thoughts in the comments as well. All right, so let's start the show. Here we go. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talking Business with Ritz. I'm your host, Ritzo Loreto Rectra, and this is the show where we humanize uh, entrepreneurship and as we showcase the human behind the title before the offer. So today, I'm thrilled to introduce to you a truly dynamic guest, right? If you've ever struggled with keeping your audience engaged, sealing the deal in a pitch, or even connecting with others through better communication, this is the episode for you. All right. So, before we dive into the strategies, let's get to know the man behind the brilliance. So, what's the story that led him here? What inspired him to help professionals like you and me master the art of communication? So, stay with us. All right, it's going to be good. All right, we are now in the Know the Expert segment, and I'm excited to what we are going to discuss today: how to captivate your audience in 3 minutes. Let me add our guest. All right, now our guest for today is a master of presentations. Uh, Bear with me. I'm getting nervous actually. all right, all right. So our guest for today is a master of presentations, right? A coach of speakers, for speakers, and someone who knows how to turn words into action. So he had been sharing his business acumen over 40 years. 40 years is a long time, through presenting and speaking, as well as training companies and organizations on how to improve their processes. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Steve Sapato to the show.
Hi.
I have that. I
That's
have that.
fabulous. I love that. That's great.
All right. Now, Steve, it's great to have you here. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. I'm down in Florida here in the United States, and it's actually warming up. It's been cool, so it's actually warming up. So it'll be 75 degrees, which is really nice to lay out in your backyard if you get the chance.
Wow. All right. Now, let's start by hearing about your journey. Let me just set up the stage. Here we go. All right. Now, let's start with this, Steve. Who is Steve Sapato as a person?
Oh, that's a really good question. Who is Steve Sapato? I mean, I ask that of people all the time because when I teach speakers, they have to know who they are and what they're going to do once they get on the stage. So I have been a speaker for 40 years. My journey started when I was working for IBM Corporation, and my mom called me up. She ran some ladies groups, and she called me up one day and said, "Hey, my speaker canceled for tonight." I went, "I'm sorry, Mom. That's too bad." And she went, "But I need a speaker." I went, "Mom, I don't know any speakers." And she went, "No, you don't understand. You're my speaker." And
All right.
you can't say no to your mom, right? And so I
Right.
went down and I spent 20 minutes, and uh, they actually paid me to do that by giving me a free meal, right? So for about 3 more months, I said, "Hey, I'll speak for food. If somebody wants to pay me to show up and do a fun speech, I'll do that." And it was not intimidating for me because I had a background in theater, high school theater, a little college theater.
Ah,
Yeah. So I went down and I talked about my favorite subject at the time. And well, it was, it was pot. I mean, when you're 20 years old, pot seemed like a good thing. So I was 24,
right.
5 years old. And so I worked out a little talk for those ladies. And since then, obviously it grows. You talk a few times for free, then somebody offers to pay you. And I remember the first time I was actually paid some real nice money. Now, keep in mind, this is going back 50 years because I'm
Mhm.
75 now. And 50 years ago, when somebody first offered to pay me $1,500 and my expenses to get to where they were, I was like, okay, that was fabulous. And so I learned to be who I am on the stage and in front of people, because when you are not afraid, we were just at an event last night and it was a dance here at the retirement community. And I
Mm.
was out there dancing and doing some funny things. And my wife walked up to me and there was a friend of mine standing there. And she said, well, you don't embarrass easily. And my wife went, I've been trying for 10 years to embarrass this guy and nothing embarrasses him. And the reason it doesn't embarrass me is because I'm always who I am. And that's what I try and teach my speakers. I try and teach all the people who need to be better presenters. Be who you are. We all have our wonderful voice that we can do, our announcer voice, or we can
Yeah,
do
yeah.
something else. Yeah. But if you're just who you are, people will get to know, like, and trust you. And that's important for being a good speaker, whether you're on stage or whether you're just in front of one person talking to somebody here. If you're in
Mm.
sales, they have to know, like, and trust you in order to sell your
Right, right.
product. So that's how I started.
Right. Thank you very much for sharing that. No, as an entrepreneur, what was the biggest lesson you learned during your journey?
Well, as an entrepreneur, you're covering a lot of ground there because I've owned
Mm.
6 brick and mortar stores as well as 4
Wow,
online
six.
businesses. So I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over these years is to always ask for help. That's the biggest thing I think that I've learned is you can try it on your own, you can fail on your own, and I don't care how much you think you know. There's always
Mm-hmm.
something you don't know. And I was 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. I was out in California living out there, and somebody I was business coaching, asked for help. And when we went and did our thing with them, one idea turned this guy from making this kind of money to doubling his business within 12 months.
Wow.
Because he asked one simple question, which is, Steve, I need help in growing my business. What should I do? And then, of course, we went and found out what he was currently doing and gave him one idea. So you see, one idea, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a person doing the PTA or whatever you're doing,
Mhm.
one idea can make a huge difference in your life. And certainly if you're in business, always ask for help, with speaking, training, managing people, always ask for help. That's my tip.
Wow. That is such a powerful reminder for anyone. You can't do everything on your own, especially in business. No,
Well,
there's
that
no man in an island.
yeah, that's well, and that's we hear it and we know it. So many people are sports fans, sports freaks. Some of them. I'm not a sports person following, but here's what I
Mhm.
do know: every professional athlete had at least 5 coaches. Some,
Mm.
they're making multi-millions of dollars this year, and they still have a coach. If you understand that, then you need to get a coach too. Whether it's a coach for $200 a month or a coach for
Right,
$10,000 a month, you need a
right,
coach to help you advance your career.
right, right. Right. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So before we dive into the expert insight, right, let's lighten things up by a quick icebreaker. So these are fun, fast questions. First answer that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Now, are you ready? Is the question. First answer that comes to my mind. Oh, you're in trouble now.
All right. All right. Let me change the stage. All right. So, first question. What's one word your friends would use to describe you?
Strange.
Okay, I can see that. All right. What's the most memorable presentation you've ever delivered?
I'll tell you, there's tons of them. You've talked as often as I have, but one stands out. I was in front of about 500 people in this small auditorium. The power
Uh-huh.
went out. The power went out. So you got a
Right.
black auditorium. no microphone, and everybody, of course, chattering about, what's going on. I'm standing in front of them giving a presentation. So I gave them about 30 seconds to calm down. And then I used my announcer voice to take control of the auditorium and settled everybody back down. And in the dark, gave about 15 more minutes of that presentation, because you can let things stop you or you can go ahead. Now, I always tell people you got to allow for an interruption, whether somebody drops plates or whether somebody enters the room. Acknowledge the interruption and then go on with your presentation if it's possible. And that was my most memorable, because when I got done, I got lots of accolades from people saying, I'm so glad you went ahead, because that kept the whole thing on track. The meeting stayed, the meeting coming after me stayed on track. Everything flowed well because that one mistake that happened didn't keep me from completing my presentation in a way that was helpful to everybody.
Right. So the show must go on, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Next question. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee. Now, and I will qualify. I used to drink 24 cups of coffee a day. No exaggeration. I'm down to 8 now. So I'm doing a lot better.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, that's great. Now, the funniest mistake you've made on stage?
That's a really difficult question because I come so prepared for everything. I think the funniest mistake, I'm trying to think back now, and the funniest mistake I've ever made on stage. I mean, people say, well, I left my zipper down or I did this. And the answer is I spilled a drink one time over my notes, because I always speak with notes sitting on a table in case you get lost. But I spilled a drink over my notes. And of course, you got water running everywhere. And how do you cover for that? Because there's nobody here to mop it up. So that was probably my biggest challenge. So you have to keep talking while you're picking up your mess. And everybody had a good time. I had a good time, with what we could. I'm real good at ad-libbing. So, all about the water and all about the mess. We ad-libbed for 3 or 4 minutes while the mess was cleaned up.
Right. I can just imagine what was that. All right. Now, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs.
Yeah, dogs, because and I'll qualify. A lot of people have dogs that they don't train well, and they're yippy dogs, or they're pulling at their leash all the time. And I always judge people by how they train their dog. I figure that's how they also train their children. And it also says a lot about them personality wise. If they just let their dogs run wild, that's crazy. And I don't feel like cats have any training ability at all. So I don't do well with cats because they just come and go as they please. I always say women love cats for the same reason they hate dogs. And that is because cats ignore them when they want to. Cats only give them affection when they want to, right? Cats will respond to their affection only for a limited time, and then they wander on their way. And cats are always around when they want food.
Right. I can say that's true because I'm a cat and dog person.
Yeah, and women don't like men if they're that way. So yeah, we have to be cautious of what we do.
True. All right. Now, a book everyone should read.
Oh, there's so many. And honest, Rich, there's so many of those. Think and Grow Rich is one of them. I wish I could. I don't see my phone sitting here, but I'm an audiobook person now. I used to be a reading book. Now I'm an audiobook. And there are so many great communication books out there that teach you how to communicate. Like I say, I give away my ebook, Skill with People. If somebody wants my free ebook, let me know. I'll get you that free ebook, Skill with People. And I've learned so much from all of the people. So there's Think and Grow Rich. There's I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank on some of them. But there's so many great communication books out there. I don't care which one you pick up. Pick up one that teaches you how to be a better communicator with the people around you. That will change your life.
Right. So Think and Grow Rich. All right. Now, early bird or night owl?
I'm an early bird now. Isn't that funny? Your life changes. I used to be a night owl. I used to stay up till 12, 1 o'clock, no big deal. And then somewhere along the line, I became a get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning guy, and I have to be in bed by 9:30 or 10. So
it's quite early.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you a lot of free time. So like for Christmas this year, my wife bought me one of those Tibetan bowls, those brass Tibetan bowls where you hit it and it goes gong, for a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time. And I'm not a big meditator, but I can sit on my patio now and hit that gong and really think for 5 or 10 minutes. Just sit and think about what I need to do. Think about my health. Give
Mhm.
big accolades to my body for keeping me healthy and whole. And so when I get up that early, I have a lot of free time to do everything I want. Now, I will also tell you that I'm not like I really know I need to exercise, and I have
Mhm.
a big wall thing over here in my office. I've got my gym
Mhm.
right next to my office, and
Yeah.
for a while I'll work out 5 days a week, and then I
Mhm.
take so like for 3 months I'll work out 5 days a week. I'm dedicated, and then for 3 more months I won't work out at all. Yeah,
Wow.
it's not working for me. I know that. You know.
Right, right. As long as there's movement, I think that will be yeah, good for us. All right. Now, one thing most people don't know about you.
Oh, there's so many things they don't know about me. There's just, that's
Spill one, spill one.
one thing that people don't know about me. Gee, that's a really hard question. I think if you looked at me, most people wouldn't know that I really exercise a lot.
All right.
Because I tell people all the time, one of the things when people ask me to do a presentation, they say, "Hey, come and we'll pay you $5,000 to come on our stage," and I
Uh-huh.
go, "Great." One of my first qualifications is it okay if I come in a sport coat and no tie? And people go, "Well, we'd rather you wore a tie." I went, "Well, I don't wear ties." And I said, "Would you like to know why I don't wear a tie?" And they go, "Well, yeah, that'd be okay." And I go, "You know what you get when you get a chubby tie and he puts on a tie?" And they go,
Right.
"What?" I go, "You get a fat guy in a tie." I said, "It just squishes your neck all up and you're all fat all of a sudden." So I say, so I don't wear ties. So,
All right, all right. Thank you for sharing that one. Last question, a little bit of the serious side. So let's say you are talking to your younger self right now. What advice would you give your younger self?
oh, there's so much advice and I give it to everybody out there now because I think it's vital. The first is really learn about money. Learn about
Hmm.
money. Like I didn't learn the rule of 72. I've got a little free course out there called the rule of 72 again if somebody wants it. But I
Mm.
didn't learn about the rule of 72 when it comes to money until I was over 50 years old. That changes your life. Also, always be open to new ideas. I was teaching college speech and I was driving out of the parking lot one day and the ad on the radio said, "Never buy a book again from the bookstore. Instead, go to Amazon.com." And I went, "What a stupid idea that is, right?" And of course, looking back, even 3 or 4 years later, it was like, duh, right? So when you hear new ideas, consider whether they're worth investing in. I've got friends now who, as we talk about Bitcoin or
Well,
whatever that's, yes, that kind of money, they go, "Oh, never, we're never going to do that." And I go, you got to be open. You don't have to invest a ton of money to probably
yeah.
make some good money, but be open to all ideas, whether it's Amazon.com, how to buy your books right, or whether it's how to buy the right money.
Mm.
Every idea has a possibility. And so learn about money, learn about what can help you succeed, and then implement it and be dedicated
Mm.
enough to make it work.
Right, right. You have to be consistent as well. No ideas are just ideas. You have to implement and
Absolutely.
then be consistent about it.
Yes.
Right. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
As you can
Thank you
tell, I
for
respond well to applause.
right. Thank you very much, Steve. I hope you had fun.
No, this has been great. Yeah, really appreciate it.
All right. So, but then let's get on with the with our show with the next segment. Here we go. So,
Oh, yes.
Bam
You
Bam,
guys all need to subscribe. Push the button.
yeah, push the button. Yes, correct. So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, push the button. All right, and share this video because I'm having fun here. Actually, my nervousness is gone. All right, stay tuned for our next segment, which is Learn from the Expert. Here we go. All right, welcome back, Bam Bam. we are now in the Learn from the Expert segment. Now that we know more about Steve, let's get to the heart of today's topic, which is, let's have to learn from the expert. Let me just flash our banner. Okay, so this is our topic for today: 3 minutes to yes, unlocking presentation skills. I'm gonna be asking a series of questions to Steve, so that then we'll get educated. All right, Steve, here we go. You emphasize that being a great presenter is key to making an impact, but what's the biggest mistake speakers make when trying to engage their audience?
It's real simple. They're boring. Most most people, and you know what? Most people are
How do you
boring.
define boring? Some people you
Well,
just devour information.
you've had guests on your podcast who were boring, and you try real hard not to keep them from being boring. But people, you don't have to be animated. You don't have to jump all over the place. But you have to have variation in the pitch of your voice. You have to have all this. You have to have acknowledgments. You have to have head movement. You have to have things that really engage your audience. When
Right.
I tell there's a difference between a speaker who's a storyteller and a
Mhm.
speaker who, one of my signature programs, storytizes his story or their story to make it interesting to the audience. Because most of us know that when we talk about ourselves, I don't care if you're
Mhm.
doing a 30-second pitch for your business at a networking event or
Right.
a long-term thing. If we talk about me, you don't care about me. That's really important to understand, is that if we start talking about, if I said, hey, I'm Steve Sapato, we just met.
Mhm.
You say, Steve, what do you do? I say, oh, I'm a professional speaker. What are you going to do with that? You go, okay, thanks,
Right.
Steve. I appreciate that. Right. Now, you might ask me a couple questions like, what do you speak about or where do you speak? But you really don't care because you don't have the need to know a public speaker, right? And
Mhm.
that's true whether you're an electrician or a plumber or an accountant. Once we know what you do, we don't really need to ask any more questions because we all think we know what you do. So it's
Right.
important to understand that if we will ask more questions, even when we just meet somebody, of course, ask, what do you do? And people love to talk about themselves. And you've met the people who will talk about themselves for 2 or 3 minutes. And I mean, you're standing there just going, oh my goodness. How do I get out of this conversation? Right. Because I was just with a friend the other day and he knocked on the door. So I went to the door. He came in, didn't have an appointment. Right. So it's right in the middle of the day, our work day, but he doesn't work.
Mhm.
So he wasn't thinking about that. And I talked to him about 20 minutes. And then I said, hey, Jim, I got to go. And he went, well, geez, you didn't have to just cut me short. Uh, okay.
For 20 minutes. All right.
But I mean, he'd been talking about himself for 20 minutes. And finally I just said, hey,
Mhm.
I gotta go. And some people get offended when you say, you're boring. I didn't say that to him, of course. But when
Right.
we talk to people, the important part is to how to extricate yourself. Like, hey, by the way, like that, my wife sometimes will just come out and say, hey, don't you have something to do? And I'll go, oh yeah, that reminds me, Jim, I gotta go, right? But we have to figure out why people are boring and figure out that most of the time it's us.
Mhm. All right. That means we are like bored listening to whatever they're talking about. Right. But it's true, no? Audiences actually respond to when they feel, seen and heard. It's not just about we deliver information or we build connection, right?
That's it. And so many times, I mean, in my careers that I've had, like I was a
Mhm.
real estate appraiser for 21 years. I had an office and
Right.
everybody else did the work, but I had to be certified. So I'd go to these certifications that were 1 and 2 day long certifications for the state of Illinois back in those days. And the guy giving the seminar, the workshop, was so boring. And I mean, so that they actually reached a point, one of the workshops I went to, where they said,
Mhm.
hey, and the doors will be locked because you can't leave. You have to get this information.
Oh
You
no.
can't leave. And I'm like, if I got to pee, I'm leaving and nobody's standing in my way. Sorry. But they were that boring that people would just get up and go outside. And people say, well, Steve, he had boring information. I go, no, he had dry information. It was his responsibility to make it interesting. And that's it. How do you make something interesting to your people? And that's my storytelling program, which is you got to involve your audience in the conversations, and you do that by learning how to make it interesting to them. You talk about them, their experiences, their emotions, and people go, well, how do you do that? I go, that's part of the training. And that's why just storytelling, where I talk about myself and my story, is not that interesting. I went to watch, I'll call him a spelunker for lack of what he was, but he was a rock climber. That's what he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was being a free climber. And a free climber is a person who no ropes, no, they just do it by their
Yeah.
hands and their feet. And he was talking about hanging above a cliff on one hand because the one rock broke, and he was dangling there 200 feet above death. And sadly, it was a boring talk because he didn't know how to involve the audience in that discussion. And I'm
Right.
like, man, if you're talking about I'm going to die, I better have people in the palm of my hand, right? So that's what it is. It's learning how to involve everybody you talk to.
Right. It has to be relatable. You have to relate whatever you're talking about to your audience, right? If I'm getting
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
correctly. All
Yes,
right.
that's it.
Now you all right. Now you talk about this concept of 3 minute to yes. So can you share what this means and how presenters can use this to create an immediate buy-in?
Absolutely. 3 minutes to yes is my signature program that I do in workshops, and I can also sell a program on it. But what it means is you have 3 minutes. Anytime you go someplace, you should be
Mm-hmm.
able to get whatever information you want from everybody you want it from. So if I'm a business person and my job is
Right.
to make a sale, then I better figure out whether the person in front of me is the right person for me to make a sale. So I have to qualify that person. How do you do that? Well, you ask a series of questions that will take approximately 2 to 3 minutes, because you got to give them time to answer, of course.
Right.
And 2 to 3 minutes asking the right question to get the right answer, asking the next question to qualify them every step along the way. And what's designed for is to guarantee that you can fill your calendar so that you can actually sit down with them, because you're not trying to sell the person right then. You've been around, and I always use Aflac people as the example. I don't know if you have Aflac people around you, but
Uh,
when you meet them, all they want to do is find out where you work and can we sell you insurance? And you're like, quit it, quit. So it's one of those where you have to get to know somebody, and that's the key, is how do you get to know them, right? So you ask the series of questions, get to know them, and then say, if you could meet that person that we were just
mhm.
talking about, that I ask in the right question order, if you could meet the person that could help you with this, if you met the person who could introduce you to this, would you be interested in doing that? And we've gotten there where they obviously have to say yes. That's 3 minutes to yes. And when they say yes, you go, okay, let's book that time in now so that we can sit down and discuss that. Now, they have yet to ask me, and that when I teach this, people go, well, they don't know what you do, Steve. I go, they don't care. I
Yeah.
can help them with their problem. I can give them a solution to their challenge. I can help them meet the people who will help them get a solution to their challenge. And they don't care what I do for a living, as long as I can help them find the solution to their problem. So 3 minutes to yes is a course designed to help people fill their calendars or meet the right people, qualify the right people so that they can get their goals met. Because my goal is, as a matter of fact, I was just doing my own workshop thing. If my
Right.
goal is to sell 20 people this month, okay, and how many people, what's my closing ratio on that, right? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
But I have to fill my calendar with enough people to meet my goals. And if you're not doing that first basic thing, that 3 minutes is critical to you getting in, getting out. Because some people will take 15 minutes just to chat with you.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to chat with me. You need to qualify me. So whether you're meeting somebody for the first time at a party, right, you can find out if this could be a potential client of yours by asking these same series of questions. You could find
Mhm.
out if you have anything in common. If you're going, they say, Steve, I'm just going to a party for a friendship. Good. Then you want to know if, like for me, I play pickleball. So I need to find out, do they play pickleball? How often do they play pickleball? Would they be interested in
Mhm.
playing pickleball? What's their skill in pickleball? All that good stuff, to see if one day we might play pickleball together. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
simple, the process, but most people spew about themselves versus asking about the other person.
Right. So I understand now. You have to ask the right question, as you've said. ask what's their problem or how you can help them and so, and qualify whether you have the solution for that. If not, then you can introduce them to someone else, right?
Absolutely. It's funny that there's a series of questions too to ask for referrals. So I ask salespeople all the time, how good are you at referrals? And most salespeople will say not very good, because they
Mhm.
haven't been taught a series of 5 to 7 questions that will get that person to open up, because everybody has boxes that they think in. And so you have to
Yeah.
think, how do I get somebody to the referral box, which is really 7 boxes into your brain. So if I just look at you and say, can you refer me to a good carpet cleaner? What's the first thing you do? You go, carpet
Mhm.
cleaner. I don't think I can. I mean, unless you have one in your networking group that comes right to mind, you go, I don't, and then you might go to a commercial you saw on TV. But if you're talking to somebody who's in your profession, who might want to use your services, and you say, hey, can you refer somebody else to me? And it's an open end, and we go, somebody else, and in my box, I'm going, somebody else. Well, somebody else is the 10,000 people that I've known my life, right?
Mhm.
So I can't narrow it down. So your job in all of this is to ask the right questions to get them to narrow it down to, here's 5 people who could probably use your services. And that's critical. Like you say, it's the right questions in everything we do. Even if it's your family, Ritz, if your kids are mad at you, you got to start off by asking a question like, what's happened, or why are you mad, or what are you upset
Right.
with about?
Right.
And when they say, well, you're just a tyrant, you're just a jerk, Dad, you go, I appreciate that, but why are you saying that today? I can go back to one incident, Rich, that happened when my son, now he's 36 now, but he was in college, so he was about 22 years old, and he called up
Right.
and he was just spewing. And I started to say, well, this is how you fix that. And he went, Dad. I went, what? He went, stop it. And I mean, it hurt my feelings. I went, what do you
Mhm.
mean? What,
Right.
stop
Right.
what? He goes, stop trying to fix my problem. Well, I could have got mad back at him, because that's the first response when you get your feelings hurt, is get mad back. But
Yeah.
I was more like, okay, I'm not supposed to fix your problems? He says, no. I went, why did you call? Because especially as men, we're supposed to fix your problem.
Yeah.
And he went, I just wanted to talk. Oh, see, then I opened up. Then I learned something new too. If you
Right.
ask questions and are open to the answers, even your family life gets better. So it's really cool.
Right. Wow, thank you about that. No, I love that 3 minutes is such a very short window, but it's really is a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like making a first impression that sticks.
That's exactly what
Right.
we have to do too. That's right.
Right. All right. Now, sales and communication, as you mentioned, are at the heart of your coaching. So, how can mastering communication skills improve not just the sales, but relationships as well?
Well, mastering communications is all about, I when I taught college, Rich, the kids called me QL man. So you'll find if you went to QLman49 at Gmail, that's my Gmail address, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it stands for questioning and listening. QL, question and listen. Because if we will ask somebody a question and then genuinely listen to the answer, and then question again and listen to the answer, communication skills is all about finding a place where we will get along at the pinnacle of relationships, whether it's personal relationships, whether it's business relationships, right? What we want to do is improve our communication skills. Well, one of the things I teach people is public speaking improves your confidence. Okay. And when you improve your confidence, the world changes in front of you. People will look at you differently. People will treat you differently. People will promote you differently. Right. And
True.
if you have confidence, you don't have to get angry hardly ever. Right. Because you're confident enough in what you know and believe that you can doubt yourself even. So if somebody says something to you, you'll say, wow. I've had people, Ritz, call me names, a bad name, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
go, okay. And they're like, somebody else goes, doesn't that offend you? I went, well, if they think I am, then I am. I mean,
Yeah.
I could argue with them. I could
Their
say, well, I'm not
problem.
that. No, if they think I am, I am. And maybe I was to them. You see,
Mhm.
open to people feeling a different way about you.
Right.
And they go, well, what if a lot of people think you're that way? I said, well, then I probably am, and maybe I need to change. Okay.
Mm.
And so it's real important in our communication skills that we learn to be open to everything about us. Now, you don't have to accept everything. You don't have to believe everything. What you have to do is hear, listen, and understand. I understand that people voted this way. I understand that people want to do this. I understand, like, I mean, we're involved in several associations here at the park, and
Mhm.
people have different feelings. So when we have a meeting, somebody votes this way, you can't say, why in the world would you vote that way? It's no, it's like, oh, okay, you didn't see it the way I saw it. I'm sorry you didn't. And either we won our position or we didn't win our position, depending on how the vote came back for that committee. But it's important that we ask the right questions to help them explain it better to us or to
Mhm.
see it themselves. Because I say things to people all the time. In fact, again, just yesterday, somebody said something and I said, would you rephrase that and ask me that again? Because I wasn't quite understanding the answer they were looking for. If I know the answer they're looking for, I'm better able to give that answer.
Right. True. True.
Yeah.
True. That is so true. Absolutely. Now, what you're saying makes sense so much, Steve. And it all comes back to listening, as what you've said, and truly understanding the other person. So that is such a valuable takeaway,
Yes.
right? So your mission is to stop boring speakers, right? I'm doing a
Yeah.
segue.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
is my mission.
What?
That is my mission because I hate sitting through boring presenters. We were I can, I think I'm very entertaining. Now, that's a judgment, of course, but people always tell me how good I am at emceeing or at being in front of people, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
also work on always improving myself. That's why I keep reading and I keep learning and I keep attending. But
Yeah.
like just yesterday, we had somebody on stage who was just introducing something. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, it should have been 45 seconds, right? Get on, say what you have to say, get off. But
Yeah.
they wander and they talk about this and then they wander and they talk about that, and the people in the audience are just like, uh, we're not interested, right? Because if you talk for 3 minutes about a 45-second topic, the people are lost. They're bored. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying cut everything short because if you tell it in a way that tells stories and involves your audience, you'll still be a good presenter. And that's
Mm.
important. We talk about boring speakers, boring presenters don't get the information across. If you are in a business and you've got a boring manager who's trying to give a business meeting, right?
Right.
And they talk for 30 minutes. Some of them talk for 30 minutes and are so boring that you don't retain the information. Boy, that changes the world. When you ask the employees later on, well, what did you get from that? And they're like, I think I remember two things out of that. And they'll say, well, we talked about 10. You go, I don't remember the other 10. And the other reason they don't remember is because that person was boring and didn't make an impression on the audience, whether it's one person audience or whether it's a 20-person audience. So boring presentations are unforgivable to me. There's always a way to learn how to give a better presentation. And you should go out and reach out and talk to the people who can teach you how to be better at giving a presentation.
Right. Right. And you can't be emphasized a lot more, right? That's so powerful, Steve. No. Yeah. So passion really speaks volume as well in terms of not being a boring presenter.
Yeah.
All right, now let's shift to questions from our audience. All right, now it's time for our Q&A. Let me just play the segment title for that, and you can drink a little bit of water. Yes. All right, let's go. Here we go. All right, so welcome, Pam Pam, once again. And have you drunk your water? You go ahead and drink your water while I talk. All
Guzzle it
right,
down.
all right. Then here are the
I didn't have
questions
time to
I
go
have.
pee though. I didn't have time to go pee, Rich.
We will have after this. All
No
right.
boring here. No boring.
Yeah, yeah. Here we go. Let me just go and get the question. So, first question on the screen: how do I manage stage fright when speaking to a large audience?
That to me is one of the easiest things to overcome. And it gets back to confidence. It's really confidence. People want to memorize a talk. They go, I won't remember all this. I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to forget. You go,
Mm,
first of all, be yourself, be comfortable and record yourself. So and all my speakers, I say, first thing you want to start off with is you want to introduce yourself for a minute, 1 minute. Set up your camera, record yourself on your phone, right? Introduce yourself for 1 minute. And talking about yourself like that for 1 minute is hard because you can say, hey, I'm Steve Sapato in about 15 seconds. So making it a minute long is hard. And they'll find themselves stuttering and stammering and uhs and ums. And I go, okay, so then watch it back 2 or 3 times, do it again until you get that really comfortable. And again, Rich, it's back to, do you know what your voice sounds like? Do you know what your face looks like? Do you know what your body language is doing? Right? Those are the things you see in a quick 1 minute introduction of yourself. And then we progress up to a presentation, right? Because stage fright is all about, I'm comfortable being me right here, right now. If I have something to talk about, like we're talking here, if I have something to talk about and I have to memorize a few questions, so if I got the questions right here in front of me, I go, I have to memorize the questions. I'm probably not going to do as well because memorizing is hard. So if you've got a presentation, I don't know who's the person who introduced, don't take notes on stage with you. I go, that's just a lie. Take your notes on stage with you. What we don't want to do is read the notes any more than we want to read a PowerPoint. So if you put a PowerPoint up there, we don't want you looking back here reading a PowerPoint to us, right? There's a thing called death by PowerPoint. I do a whole course on how to do
right.
PowerPoint, right? And what you shouldn't do and what you should do and the ins and outs of all of that. But it's back to the stage fright comes from not being comfortable with who you are, not being comfortable with the topic you're talking about, because very seldom do we have to speak about very specific items in a larger audience. Usually it's a generality, and you can cover that in all kinds of ways. So confidence is the big thing. Comfortable in yourself, comfortable in your voice, in your presentation, in your skills. That's what it's all about. And once you get that first 5 or 10 minute conversation with yourself on a camera where you can look at it, evaluate, and most people are super critical. Of course, I remember the first time I heard my voice, I don't know, go back again, 40, 50 years. Yeah, see? And we all went, because I remember saying, I'm probably about 30 pounds down now from what my fattest weight was, right? And I still got 20 pounds to lose. But I remember 30 years ago, looking at a deal where we'd gone up to my sister's cabin up north. And they were showing videos or pictures. And I went, well, who's that guy on the surfboard? And they went, that's you. I went, no, I'm talking about the fat guy. And they went, that's you. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? Because we don't see ourselves when we're looking like here. I don't see myself. And very seldom do we see ourselves on camera. So it's vital to overcome stage fright that you see yourself, hear yourself, watch yourself on camera until you're comfortable with it.
All right. Now, thank you for sharing that one. Confidence. All right. Now, what's the easiest way to structure a persuasive presentation?
Okay. Every presentation has to start off with a hook. So I don't care how you walk out on stage, you ask something that disarms the audience or makes the audience comfortable with who you are. Tell a story, tell an anecdote. I don't ever say tell a joke because jokes leave you at the end of a joke. What do you say after the end of the joke, right? Hey. So the easiest way to structure a persuasive presentation is to make sure that you have credibility, and that credibility comes with you and the questions you ask. That's, again, I go back to my whole, everything I do is about questions. I'm here telling you things, right? And as long as you understand that it's the questions that we ask that will help people change from where they are. It's back to what makes something persuasive. You have to ask them, are you happy where you're at now? Are you satisfied with what you have now? Are you comfortable with doing what you're doing now? And a lot of people will go, yeah, I'm just fine. You go, what if it could be easier if you did this? Or what if you way to do that better? And people go, well, better. I think I'm doing it the best way there is. And you go, what if you found out it wasn't? Then they're going, well, what do you mean? Right. And they'll ask, what do you mean? And you go, well, and then you show them your way. So it's all about finding out where they're at right now. And you say, well, what if you're talking to a big audience? You can't ask them all, Steve. And you say, no, you go into that with some presumptions. You have to talk to the person who hired you to give that talk so that you
Ah,
understand their problems, their objections, their situation is. And that way you can address that with, and you're not going to win everybody over, especially if you're talking to a large audience. If
right.
you win, a bunch of them over, and that way those people who are just won over can say, I never thought about it like that before. He asked some really good questions. He had some really good points. And that way they start a conversation with themselves. So depending on what you're trying to accomplish, how you might do that with every organization.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Now, how can I handle audience questions without losing focus?
I just tell them to shut up. Oh, no.
Don't tell me to shut up.
Again, depending on the size of your audience, and that's
Right.
one of those deals where if I'm in a small audience, 10 to 40 people,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody interrupts. So if I'm talking and they interrupt, what about this, Steve? I go, you know what? We can talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit later. Matter of fact, I'll work it into my presentation back here so that we can talk about that. Will that be all right? And
Right.
that person almost always goes, okay, because they think they're going to catch you off guard and put you in a position where you might not be able to answer what they want to hear, right? So
Right.
audience questions, I don't, whenever I'm doing a presentation, very seldom am I interrupted with audience questions. Now, I will give you an example again. I'm going to go back to real estate appraising when there were 1,000 real estate appraisers down in Nashville, Tennessee. And we were all sitting there and this guy's boring as heck, but he kept referring to something, and I'll make up some letters like TDL. When we go to TDL, when we do this, and TDL, you can do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
looked at the guys around me and I talked to them one by one. Do you know what TDL is? They went, no. Now, I've been doing that for 15 years at that point in time. So I thought I was pretty knowledgeable about what I was doing. And none of the people behind me, in front of me, knew what TDL was. So I raised my hand. And the guy
Mm-hmm.
at the podium says, if you'll hold all your questions to the end, that'll be great. Well, if nobody knows what he's talking about, holding your question to the end won't help, will it? So I raised my hand again, and he went, if you can hold your questions. Now, he started to get rude because I was interrupting the poor guy, right? And he was like, if
Right.
you'll hold your questions. And I went, and I'm just saying, no. And again, if you're a presenter, you know that he did all the wrong things for all the wrong reasons. So he was already boring. And then he was rude to me because he said, what could be so important that you can't wait?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm sorry, but and again, back to confidence. I didn't have to say none of us know what TDL is. I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what TDL means.
Mm.
And he said, this is what TDL means. And the whole audience went,
Oh.
oh. So questions have a place. So don't ever
Right.
ignore a question from your audience. But if you get a question that you're not prepared to answer yet, you say, hey, we're going to take care of that a little later on. Would that be okay? And the answer is yes.
Mm.
And then you move on from there.
Right.
Hope that answers the
That's a
question.
better way. Yeah, that's a better way of doing it rather than say,
Better than shut
hold
up.
on for the end of yeah. All right. Now, next question would be, what's one habit I can develop to become a better communicator? This question.
Well, the habit you have to develop is confidence. And the way we do that, I'd say take a public speaking course. I don't care if it's
Mm-hmm.
at your local college. I don't care if it's from me. Take a public speaking course where they teach you how to be confident in standing in front of people, right, to talk. Um,
Right.
that habit will help you communicate with everybody, from your family to your children to your spouse to everybody around you. Because the one thing that usually happens in miscommunication, matter of fact, I've got a talk called Mr. Communication is Dead and Miscommunication Lives in Your Life, right? Because most of us don't know that the other person is coming from a completely different place
Mm.
than we are. So,
Right.
and I really, one example where I got an email, and it was about a great chili recipe. It said the world's greatest chili. And my wife loves to make chili. And I went, oh, that's cool. I wonder if she would appreciate this recipe, whether she could learn anything about how to make her chili or whether she's interested. So I typed it up and sent it off to her, and it came right back. So I said, hey, honey, here's a chili recipe you might like. And she wrote back and said, what's wrong with my chili?
Right.
Yeah. See, nothing. I mean, by then I'm in trouble, right? Already. But that's the point. We don't know how other people are going to take our information. And I do a thing. I do a thing at some of my workshops, and I have to do it in writing because
Mm-hmm.
it's I did not say that he stole the money. That's the phrase. I did not say
Right.
he stole the money. And I say, how many different interpretations of that can there be? And people are like, one, two. I went, no, there's six different interpretations of that one simple statement. And if you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand when you're doing texting or whether you're doing email, that just that one statement can be misinterpreted 6 different ways,
Yeah,
right?
quite true. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
did not say he stole the money. Somebody else did, right? I did not say he stole the money. I may have written you a message, or I may have, nodded that he stole the money. I may not
Mm-hmm.
say he stole the money, right? He may have borrowed it. He may have done this. I didn't say he stole the money, right? That kind of thing. So, I mean, there's 6 different interpretations of that. Just like there's different interpretations of hi. If I look at you, Retz, and say, hi, when you see me, that was good, right? Or if you see me and I go, hi, you go, what's wrong?
Why
But
you here?
yeah, if I put it in a message that just says hi, you have no idea what I'm feeling, meaning, saying. And that's true
Yeah.
of everything we do. So to become a better communicator, always be open to somebody else misinterpreting your message. So
Mm-hmm.
have the confidence to say, what did I say wrong in this message? Or how could I make this message? How could I improve this message?
Right.
That's the thing.
Right. Okay. That is so much. It's totally loaded today. Right. Now, this is the last question. The interest of time. How can I practice speaking effectively without an audience? What I do is I look at my show notes and then I speak alone just to
Yeah.
hear my voice. So what else can we do?
Well, that's exactly what you should do. I tell people all the time, most of our speaking, like when I speak out to public, I'm presuming there's a response. I presume I know what my audience is going to answer, right?
Mm.
And that's what you have to do. So set up your camera, right? Record yourself and ask those questions. Or, have your script there and just read it and say, hey, this is what and then watch it back. And you say, that's how I get better, more effective in my public speaking is practicing when I'm alone, right? And
Mm.
and I'm going to qualify because you've already seen this right here. But one of the things I tell people all the time is every time I step in front of a mirror, I practice a face. Okay, so and I'll back up. One of my seminars is how to be happier in life. So
Mm.
if you say, well, I say, how many people here wake up in a great mood every morning, and almost nobody raises their hand? I go, okay, well, we're in between. So how many people wake up in a bad mood most of the time? And a few people will raise their hands. And I'll go, okay, so how many people would like to know how to wake up and then suddenly have a great morning? And most
Mhm.
people raise their hand. I go, okay, here's the secret. You wake up, you go in the bathroom, you close the door, you turn on the light, and you look in the mirror and you go, you're the best looking person in the room. Now, I don't care who you are, just like I did right there. You can't say it without smiling at yourself, sometimes laughing, and you gave yourself a positive affirmation to boot. So you started your day off by smiling and telling yourself that you're darn good looking, right? That's
Right,
the
right.
type of thing. Yeah, that's the type of thing where we have to look at how we do things. So working with ourselves to be in a better mood, be in a better frame of mind to accept other people is always about what we do.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for answering all those questions and thank you for that, sharing that with us. It's clear that your expertise can really help so many entrepreneurs the way you helped me today.
I'm glad. I
Right.
thank you for that. Yeah. I think we're helping
Right.
each other because here's what I also
Right.
know, Ritz. Here's what I know
Mhm.
is you're a podcast host, and I've had podcast hosts who weren't great at their job. They were boring or they didn't respond to me, having a good time. They're like, I don't know. And you've given me great smiles, great face, all that good stuff. So when we talk about what we have to do is giving great face, practicing all that stuff makes a huge difference. If you don't know what your face is, I mean, I ask people
Right.
all the time, Has anybody ever asked you if you're in a bad mood and you weren't? That's because your face told you you were in a bad mood, right? Have you ever?
Right, right.
Yeah. And that's true of face, hand gestures, body language, all that stuff. So you've really helped me today, and I appreciate that.
You are a great guest. What you see is what you get.
Hey, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. That's who
All
I
right.
am.
Yes, yes. We have more questions, but in the interest of time, we'll wrap up our Q&A. Thank you very much, Steve, for being game to answer all these questions from our viewers. So, yes, this one is for you. All right, now stay tuned for our next segment. You can sip some water. All right, here we go. All right, welcome back, fantastic Bam Bams. We are now in the Work with the Expert segment. And remember to, of course, like this video and share it as well. And comment if you want to keep up with insights like this. All right, now, Steve's insight today have been incredible. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that effective communication is really a game changer everywhere, anywhere in business and in private life as well. So, for our viewers who want to take this further, Steve, can you share how they can work with you?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, you can get a hold of me at steve@stevesapato.com. That's Steve, you know how to spell Steve, at Steve Sapato, Sapato, Steve at stevesapato.com. Yep, she
All
says it's
right.
right there on the screen, but in case it just goes to podcast, I always tell all of my podcast guests, if you'll spell out your name, that way the people who are just listening don't miss out on the opportunity to contact you. So Steve at stevesapato.com. You can also text me, 563-370-4938. 563-370-4938. Text me with a question that you might have. And if you would like more information about any of my courses, certainly reach out to me. I'm not a big salesperson.
Mhm.
I know I teach people how to be great at sales, but I don't like selling. So if you would like to talk to me about working with me, please reach out. Let's have a conversation and see if I can help you do what you need to do.
All right. Wow, that's an amazing opportunity, Steve. I believe you are also in socials.
Yes. Yep. You can
All right.
LinkedIn, Steve Sapato, Facebook, Steve Sapato. I don't, a lot of people put on pseudonyms or fake names or that kind of stuff.
Yep.
If you just Google Steve Sapato, you'll find every opportunity to get a hold of me. And if you want one, like I've got a free course out there called Skill with People. If you want that ebook sent to you, reach out to me at or reach out and just say in the subject line, Skill with People, please. And I'll send you the ebook on that.
All
Yeah,
right.
YouTube, Steve Sapato. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, Steve is also in YouTube. All right. So I just flashed all the channels that Steve that you can find Steve. All right. So I encourage everyone watching today to take advantage of this and elevate your presentation game. So don't miss out. And yeah, connect with Steve or leave us a comment below if you want all those ebooks from Steve. All right. Now, Steve, as we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you'd like to leave our audience with?
The one piece of advice is keep learning. Whatever your topic is, whatever your area of expertise is, keep learning. I'm going to another whole day workshop. Somebody said they will teach people how to be great speakers, and it's an hour
Mhm.
and a half drive for me. And, I'm the guy who teaches people how to be great speakers. I shouldn't even attend
Right.
that workshop, right? No, that's
Right.
not right. The answer is there's always something I can learn, even from
Excellent.
maybe the person isn't as good a speaker as I am. They still might have something to tell me. Maybe they're a lot better speaker than I am, and they'll have lots to share with me. Always keep learning within your frame, whether you're buying ebooks, regular books, going to webinars, going to seminars, keep learning.
All right. Beautifully said. Simple yet profound. Thank you for that, Steve. So, this has been an incredible conversation with you. Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your expertise and inspiring us to communicate with excellence.
Well, I thank you a lot, Rich. This has been a great conversation. I sure appreciate your questions and pushing what I need to share. Thanks.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Sapato, presentation coach. All right. Now, thank you, Pam Pam, for joining us today. And remember that effective communication isn't just a skill, it's a superpower that can transform your career, your relationships, and your confidence. All right. Now, this will be we will be pausing for a while for talking business with Ritz, as I'm going to try something new in terms of the streaming platforms. So I'll be running some reruns for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be resuming, and I'll be inviting a lot of guest speakers, experts just like Steve, in the coming months. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Yes. So until next time, this is Ritzel Loredo Rectra and our expert guest, Steve Sapato. Stay safe and healthy always as we continue talking business with Ritz. Bye, everybody.